Welcome to the channel. Self-respect is the foundation of how the world responds to you, whether you realize it or not. Psychology shows that people constantly rate subtle signals, how you speak to yourself, how you protect your time, how you react when things do not go your way. These signals form an internal image of your value, and that image is projected outward through your behavior, posture, tone, and decisions. When you respect yourself, you naturally move with certainty. You do not rush to impress. You do not over-explain your choices. You do not apologize for existing. This quiet confidence tells others that you see yourself as someone worth respecting, and the human mind tends to mirror that belief. Self-respect begins with discipline, not motivation. It is built when you keep promises to yourself, especially the small ones, waking up when you said you would, training even when you feel tired, saying no to distractions that pull you away from your goals. Each time you honor your word to yourself, your self-image strengthens. Psychology explains that the brain forms identity based on repeated actions. When your actions show commitment and control, your mind starts to believe you are a serious, capable person. That belief then shapes how you speak, how you walk, and how you make decisions, and people respond to that energy automatically. Another critical part of self-respect is boundaries. When you allow others to waste your time, disrespect your effort, or pull you into negativity, you teach them that your limits are weak. The mind learns patterns quickly. If someone sees that you tolerate poor treatment, they will repeat it. When you protect your boundaries calmly and firmly, you send a message that your time and energy are valuable. This does not require aggression or arrogance. It requires clarity. Respect grows when people know where you stand and what you will not accept. Self-respect also means taking responsibility instead of making excuses. Blaming circumstances, people, or luck might feel comforting, but it damages how others perceive you. Psychology shows that accountability is strongly linked to perceived competence. When you own your mistakes and work to improve, people see strength, not weakness. They trust you more because you trust yourself enough to face reality. Most importantly, self-respect shapes your inner dialogue. If you constantly speak negatively to yourself, doubt your ability, or fear judgment, those thoughts leak into your behavior. When you train your mind to focus on growth, effort, and progress, your presence changes. You become grounded, composed, and focused. People do not need an explanation, they feel it. Respect begins the moment you decide that your standards, your effort, and your future matter, and you live in alignment with that decision every day. Emotional control is one of the strongest signals of power the human mind can recognize. Psychology shows that people instinctively look for stability in others, especially in moments of pressure, conflict, or uncertainty. When someone reacts impulsively, raises their voice, or allows emotions to dictate their behavior, the brain interprets it as a lack of control. On the other hand, when a person remains calm, measured, and focused, even in difficult situations, it creates an immediate sense of authority, not because they are loud, but because they are grounded. Emotional control does not mean suppressing feelings or pretending you do not care. It means understanding your emotions without allowing them to control your actions. Anger, frustration, fear, and disappointment are natural responses, but psychology teaches that the ability to pause before reacting is what separates strong minds from fragile ones. That pause creates space for rational thinking. It allows you to choose the response that serves your long-term goals rather than your short-term emotions. People respect those who do not let temporary feelings ruin permanent opportunities. Silence plays a critical role in emotional control. When criticized, challenged, or provoked, the instinct for many is to defend, explain, or argue. However, the mind often perceives silence paired with confidence as dominance. It signals that you do not need approval or validation to feel secure. By staying quiet when emotions rise, you force others to reveal themselves while you maintain control of the situation. Psychology shows that those who speak less but with intention are often perceived as more intelligent and authoritative. Another key aspect of emotional control is composure under pressure. In high stress moments, people look for cues on how to feel and how to act. If you panic, complain, or lose focus, that energy spreads. If you remain calm, disciplined, and solution-oriented, it stabilizes the environment around you. This is why leaders are often the calmest people in the room. Their emotional regulation creates trust, and trust creates respect. Emotional control also strengthens self-respect. When you master your reactions, you stop handing power to external events or other people. Insults lose their impact. Delays stop frustrating you. Setbacks become lessons instead of emotional breakdowns. Psychology explains that individuals with strong emotional regulation experience higher confidence because they feel in control of their inner world. That control reflects outward in posture, tone, and decision-making. Over time, emotional discipline reshapes your identity. You are no longer seen as reactive or unpredictable. You become someone who can be relied on in difficult moments. People listen more carefully when you speak because they know your words are not driven by impulse. Respect grows naturally when others realize that pressure does not shake you, criticism does not break you, and silence is your strength when emotions try to take control. Consistency is one of the most powerful psychological drivers of respect because the human mind is built to trust patterns. People do not respect what is unpredictable. They respect what is reliable. When your behavior, effort, and values remain stable over time, others begin to feel safe in their expectations of you. Psychology explains that trust is formed when actions repeatedly match words. Anyone can speak with confidence once. Very few can show up with the same discipline every day, especially when motivation is low or circumstances are difficult. Consistency shapes identity before it shapes reputation. Each repeated action sends a signal to your brain about who you are. When you train, work, or improve daily, even in small ways, your mind starts to see you as a disciplined individual. This internal belief changes how you carry yourself. You speak with more certainty. You hesitate less. You stop seeking approval because your confidence is built on evidence, not opinions. People sense this internal alignment, and respect follows naturally. From a psychological perspective, inconsistency creates doubt. If someone performs well only when they feel inspired or only when they are being watched, the brain registers them as unreliable. Reliability is deeply connected to respect because it reduces uncertainty. When people know you will deliver regardless of mood, pressure, or external praise, they begin to depend on you. Dependence strengthens respect because your presence becomes valuable. Consistency also separates emotion from commitment. Motivation is emotional, discipline is psychological. When you rely on motivation, your effort rises and falls with feelings. When you rely on consistency, your actions become automatic. Psychology shows that habits formed through repetition require less mental energy, allowing you to perform at a high level without internal resistance. This makes your excellence look effortless, even though it is built on daily effort behind the scenes. Another reason consistency earns respect is that it proves integrity. When your values remain steady in both success and failure, people trust your character. You do not change your standards based on convenience. You do not speak one way and act another. This alignment between belief and behavior sends a powerful signal of authenticity. The mind respects authenticity because it reduces confusion and builds clarity. Consistency also compounds over time. Small actions repeated daily create results that cannot be ignored. These results shift perception. At first, people may doubt you, then they observe you. Eventually, they respect you because your progress is undeniable. Psychology calls this the credibility effect, where sustained performance overrides initial skepticism. Most importantly, consistency builds self-trust. When you know you will show up no matter what, pressure loses its power. You are no longer trying to prove yourself. You are simply executing your process. That calm certainty is felt by others before you speak. Respect grows when people realize that your effort is not temporary, your discipline is not emotional, and your standards do not change with circumstances. People often believe respect comes from being liked, but psychology shows the opposite is frequently true. Respect is built when you demonstrate that your values and standards are not negotiable. When you constantly seek approval, you communicate insecurity, and insecurity weakens how others perceive you. The human mind is drawn to individuals who operate from internal principles rather than external validation. When you choose standards over approval, you show that your identity is stable, and stability creates respect. Setting high standards begins with clarity about what you will accept and what you will not. This applies to how you work, how you speak, how you allow others to treat you, and how you manage your time. Psychology explains that people test boundaries, often unconsciously. When you consistently protect your standards, others learn where the line is. They may not always like it, but they will respect it. Weak boundaries invite repeated disrespect because they signal uncertainty and lack of self-belief. Choosing standards over approval also requires the courage to disappoint people. Not everyone will agree with your decisions. Not everyone will understand your discipline or your refusal to compromise. However, psychology shows that individuals who are comfortable with disapproval are perceived as more confident and authoritative. This is because they are not controlled by fear of rejection. Their actions are guided by long-term purpose rather than short-term comfort. Another critical aspect of maintaining standards is consistency in behavior across different situations. When your principles change depending on who you are with or what you might gain people notice, the mind quickly detects inconsistency and interprets it as weakness. When your standards remain the same in private and public, during success and struggle, your character becomes predictable. Predictability in values creates trust, and trust reinforces respect. High standards also elevate the people around you. When you refuse to accept excuses, mediocrity, or negativity, you raise the level of interaction. Psychology shows that humans often rise to meet the expectations placed upon them. By holding yourself and others to a higher standard, you influence the environment without forcing control. Your discipline becomes the reference point. Choosing standards over approval also protects your self-respect. Each time you compromise your values to fit in or avoid conflict, your confidence weakens. Over time, this creates internal tension because your actions no longer align with who you want to be. When you honor your standards, even when it is uncomfortable, your self-trust grows. That internal strength reflects outward in your posture, voice, and decision-making. People ultimately respect those who cannot be easily manipulated. When approval no longer controls your behavior, pressure loses its power. You move with intention, not fear. Your decisions become firm, your presence becomes grounded, and your influence increases because others recognize that you are driven by principle rather than opinion. Hard work has a psychological impact that goes far beyond visible success. It reshapes perception, both in your own mind and in the minds of others. Psychology shows that humans naturally respect effort that is sustained, disciplined, and focused. When people see someone who consistently puts in the work without complaining or seeking attention, it triggers admiration. This is because effort signals commitment, resilience, and self-belief. Words can be doubted, intentions can be questioned, but consistent work creates proof. Hard work forces a shift in how people interpret your identity. At first, you may be underestimated. Many people dismiss potential because they judge based on current position rather than future trajectory. However, when your effort does not stop, the narrative changes. Psychology refers to this as expectancy revision, where repeated performance overrides initial assumptions. Over time, people are no longer debating your ability. They are observing your progress. That shift alone commands respect. Another powerful element of hard work is that it removes the need for validation. When you know you have prepared, trained, and sacrificed, confidence becomes natural. You do not need to explain yourself or defend your goals. This inner certainty reflects outward. Your posture becomes stronger, your voice becomes steadier, your decisions become clearer. Psychology explains that self-efficacy, the belief in your own capability, grows through effort and mastery. That belief is contagious and others respond to it instinctively. Hard work also silences criticism. Doubt often comes from people who are watching, not doing. When your results begin to appear, arguments lose their strength. The mind respects outcomes because they are difficult to deny. Progress creates authority without confrontation. You do not need to prove anyone wrong. Your consistency does it for you. Over time, even skeptics begin to change their tone, not because you demanded respect, but because your work made denial uncomfortable. There is also a psychological respect attached to sacrifice. When people recognize that you have given up comfort, leisure, or ease to pursue improvement, they view you differently. Sacrifice signals seriousness. It shows that you are willing to endure discomfort for long-term growth. This separates those who dream from those who build. The human mind respects builders because they turn intention into reality. Hard work strengthens discipline, and discipline builds control. When you control your time, your habits, and your effort, you become less reactive to external circumstances. Setbacks do not derail you. Success does not distract you. This emotional and mental stability adds to your presence. People respect those who remain focused regardless of outcome because it shows maturity and purpose. Over time, relentless effort creates momentum. Momentum changes how you are treated, how you are listened to, and how seriously you are taken. Respect becomes a byproduct of your actions, not something you chase. Because when your work speaks consistently, it leaves no space for doubt or debate. Thanks for watching video. Please subscribe my channel.